This is the one meeting of the year that I call to order, just because this is a meeting where we elect the chair and the vice chair of this meeting. So first thing is I'd like to stand and pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First thing I'd like to do is just congratulate Steve August and Lou Enzel, for being re-elected to the board, and they were sworn in at an earlier date. The next agenda item is 3.0, nomination and election of board chair. And according to policy BDB, we shall elect it from a board chair at this time during the year and a vice chair amongst its membership. So at this time, I'd like to invite any board members that would like to make a nomination for chair.
Mr. Chair, I would like to nominate Jim Hawkins for another term as chair.
Second.
Any other nominations for chair? I guess it's unanimous. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right. Congratulations, Tim. I'll turn it over to Tim.
All right. Thank you all. Thanks, Bill. Looking forward to another year as chair. Just want to thank the board. I appreciate your trust and confidence in me, and hopefully, as board chair, I conduct the meetings thoughtfully and respectfully. And again, I just want to thank you folks for your confidence. So that said, the next item of business are nominations and elections of a vice chair. Is there a motion for vice chair?
I would move that Steve August be the...
Okay, now there's a motion for Steve August. Second by Bill. Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of Steve August as vice chair, raise your hand. None opposed? Steve, congratulations for another year as vice chair. I guess I don't have any particular comments other than just wanted to mention as a reminder to those folks who are watching that in our next meeting, our February meeting, is the State of the District meeting. That's the meeting where we do a presentation to talk about sort of an overview of what's happening throughout the district. It's a great opportunity for the public to come and get a general sense of what's happening across the district. I encourage, if you're going to attend one board meeting, that be the one you attend. So I just wanted to reach out to folks about the February meeting. Our next item of business, 6.0, approve and amend minutes of December 21st. Is there a motion regarding those minutes?
Move that be approved.
Move to approve by Bill.
Second.
Second by Alan. Just take a moment to look at those. Megan? Yeah, if you could take the mic.
Sure. It's just on the second page of the first paragraph, where the sentence, I guess the second sentence, the educational specifications will be sent to the state. Once it is approved, which documents what we feel are. I didn't quite understand that sentence.
I think it should be that we.
That we feel? Okay.
Yeah. And I think in the last sentence of that paragraph, I noticed state wants to see that we have gone through the process, and instead of taking, should probably be taken. Yeah. Anything else, Megan?
That was all
That was it?
Sure.
I just had a question, and it wasn't so much in the syntax, but the last two paragraphs talked about a document that we were going to produce, and I don't remember if we had set a timeline for that.
For the ed specs, to pare those down, is that what you're referring to? Yeah, I mean, I think Ron and Steve, we didn't talk about a timeline here.
Okay.
But I would say let's say February vacation, next 2 weeks, I think, because Ron and Steve were up here last week, and I brought it up to them again, and I think, you know, they're balancing some other projects, but I think in the next 2 weeks, we should be able to kind of boil that down a little bit.
Okay, any other changes, questions, comments on the minutes? Bill, do you mind just amending your motion with those 2 changes?
Not at all.
Okay. All right, so there is a motion to approve the minutes as written with the 2 changes on page 2. All those in favor of the motion to approve, raise your hand. None opposed? That passes. Okay, item 7.0, adjustments to the agenda. Patrick, did you have any adjustments? Okay, I had a couple of adjustments. We need to, just some housekeeping. I know that we had approved or talked about it, discussed it in executive session, the superintendent's contract, but we didn't formally approve that contract publicly. So for state record, we need to do that. I'm going to add that item to 12.2 under old business. And under new business, I would like to, if you don't mind, I'd like to add under 13.6, just a brief discussion about the state of the district meeting. Okay, and did anyone else have any adjustments to the agenda?
I just wanted to make a comment, whatever is appropriate, about 2 of the report backs from the schools, the principal's reports.
Okay.
Whatever it works. I could do it as part of the good news, because I think this is complicated.
Okay. That's a good news. All right. No other adjustments? Okay, item 8.0 is our first public session. If there's anyone from the public who would like to speak about an item that is on tonight's agenda, I'd ask that you come up and introduce yourself, speak in the mic up here, and try and keep your comments to 2 minutes. If there's something that you'd like to comment on that isn't on the agenda, we do have a public comment section under item 14.0, and I would ask that you would save your comments for that one. So is there anyone who would like to speak to an item that's on the agenda this evening? Okay. We'll move on to item 9.0, staff reports. And we have one presentation. I'll turn this over to Patrick.
So we're excited tonight to have Maria Morris, who is our Jobs for Maine's graduates teacher, as well as student Sarah Pinnell, to come and give an overview of Jobs for Maine's graduates, because I just think it's a very valuable program. Maria does a great job for us. She's not an employee, so to speak, of the system. You know, it's a state and federal organization that she works for, but really is a very beneficial program to our students. So Maria.
Thank you for having me. It's been a while since I've presented to the board. J&G's been with Morris High School since 2008. Because it is a unique program, a lot of folks don't quite understand the full nature of the program. So thank you for letting me be here today. I gave you a packet at your seat. It gives you an overview of the program. The top sheet talks about the curriculum and the goals of the program. In a nutshell, the purpose of the program is to prepare our youth for the future, for the workforce, and also for independent living. And the crux of the curriculum focuses on career exploration, job attainment, workplace survival and success, as well as basic workplace and transferable skills that are necessary in life. Those skills that can be carried on whether you're a member of the school board, a firefighter, a lawyer, a doctor, or a welder. These are all skills that we need to be successful, and we focus on that in the program. We also have a financial literacy component as well as a philanthropy component. In addition to the program, we have a career association, which is a student-run portion of the program, and that oversees career exploration, leadership development, civic and social awareness, and community service. Just, I want to go back a little bit. There are a number of different models of JMG that's available. The model that Morse High School has is the traditional multi-year model. And that means that there's a targeted caseload of 45 to 55 students who face barriers to education. And they take JMG as a one-credit elective. And they may take it for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years. In a moment, you're going to hear from Sarah, who has been with me all 4 years of her high school career. And you'll hear from her firsthand how JMG has helped her grow and blossom. Before I turn it over to Sarah, do you have questions for me?
You said most of the students have certain barriers to education. Is that a requirement?
In this model, it is. And that can be a variety of different things. Had JMG existed when I was in high school, I would have been a JMG candidate. So it can be a number of things. It can be disengagement from school, absenteeism, GPA, family circumstances. For example, for me, neither of my parents graduated high school. That would have made me a perfect candidate from the program. So it can be a variety of reasons: low self-esteem, low self-confidence, as well as a common barrier that qualifies a lot of students.
Jen?
Does this, I taught for 1 summer at Bowdoin in their Upward Bound program. Does this have a connection to that?
Very similar, and we connect quite a bit in building aspirations.
Anyone else from the board? Marina? Okay.
Without further ado, I will turn it over to Sarah.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Kendall, and I am a 4-year JMG student, as well as being on the Career Association 3 years of my high school career, and this one I was elected president. JMG is also my independent study. I ended up not having room on my schedule, but I wanted to be in it so badly that we made room. So instead of going to a study hall, I go to JMG. And I help Ms. Morris with projects. I help her prepare for her classes. And every quarter, I facilitate a team building activity. But the JMG has helped me so much through my 4 years of high school. It's taught me how to actually be a person, kind of. I've stepped out of my comfort zone, and I wouldn't be able to do this in front of you tonight, actually, if it wasn't for Ms. Morris. I got my first job with help from JMG, teaching me how to apply for jobs, doing the application, the job interviews that she has us do, and the projects. As being a senior, I finally figured out what I want to do in life. I eventually want to open my own bakery and run a business. And with the projects she has had us do with the financial literacy, where she has us take the career we want, we have the salary, and we have to live off of it for a month. We have a paper, we fill out all the bills we have to pay, and I learned I will not live off of a baker's salary by myself. I would need help. Sorry. Being a very shy student from freshman year, I did not want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to go to school. I thought it was just something I had to do. And Mr. Kerrigan came up to me and said, I want you to meet somebody. And I actually already knew Miss Morris because she helped me when I was younger, being my summer school teacher. Thank you, Miss Morris. So I knew her, and she knew the situation I was in my home life, and she was there for me for that. So JMG's also helped me be able to figure out I can go somewhere in life, that I have a purpose and I have a voice. And being on the Career Association, I had to step up and be a leader, and being president, I'm even more of a leader than I could ever expect. But for some students, it's hard to go to school. They feel like it's just something they have to do. They have no choice and it's boring. But Ms. Morris actually makes class fun. She'll do a bunch of silly stuff, but she has a purpose for it. Students have even come up to her telling her that JMG is the reason I'm here at school every day. And I probably would have dropped out last year if I didn't take JMG. JMG's made my life so much easier, has taught me so much. I finally figured out how to save money, how to just make a life for myself to where I will be after school. And I already have colleges waiting for acceptances or denial letters, and I have a plan because of Ms. Morris and JMG. So thank you for having this program here. It's a very good program to have.
Great, thank you. Hold on just 1 second. Are there any questions from the board?
Did you, since freshman year, you've been in all 4 years? You said this year it's what, an independent study?
Yes. I'm still learning the same things that the other students do, but I also do my own projects. She has 2 different curriculums from her freshman and sophomore classes to her juniors and seniors. I would be in a junior-senior class if I had room. So the things that I haven't learned yet, that the juniors and seniors are learning, she'll push me aside and have me work on that, while the other class will do something I've already learned.
Sarah, can you explain to people, you're not at JMG all day long?
No, I have it 1 period a day.
You said you're president of the Career Association.
Yes.
What are your responsibilities?
To do stuff like this. I go with when Ms. Morris asks, I'll go with her and help represent what she teaches in this program. I lead our meetings, and I talk at our I&I closing ceremony. When we go to CDC, I go for that. I'm new at this.
Are there any other questions from the board?
Can you just talk a minute about, Ms. Morris, do you do community service as part of the program?
Oh, yes.
Can you give an example or two?
We do the food truck. Then Kim will come ask us for help. And I think 3 years in a row, we've given them joy checks, which is $1,000 or $5,000, or however we want to split the $1,000. And it goes to them. We do have the Hill House. Some students will go to that and hang out with the elders. And we are doing a Zimbabwe project right now, from her going to Zimbabwe a few summers ago, where we have pen pals with the boys.
Are you making it Career Center?
I'm actually in the culinary arts program.
Great. Thanks for hanging out.
Thank you.
I guess we've all.
All right, anyone else from the board? Okay, thank you so much, Sarah. That was great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Maria.
Thanks, Maria. Item 10.0, committee reports. We have 2 committee reports. We begin with item 10.1, the Morris High School building project update. Patrick?
Yeah, we've ordered 2 appraisals to be done. One is on the Wing Fire property, and one is on the Bath Middle School site where the athletic fields are. So those, we've ordered appraisals, and so has the city of Bath. And so hopefully those will be back, I think optimistically, we're looking at the middle of February, and realistically, maybe the end of February. And then the plan would be for the city of Bath and for the RSU to sit down and start to talk about acquisition costs, potential costs to buy those properties. And we had a building committee meeting, I think it was last Friday, and we also met with the Department of Education last Tuesday or Wednesday, so everybody seems to be on the same page. And we have started, Jay Pinkerton and Joel Austin from the high school and the Career Tech met with LaValle last week to start doing the programming, which really means how many students will be at the school in 2019-20 when we open it, how many students will be there for the foreseeable future, how big the rooms will be, what type of programming will we have at that point for the vocational as well as the high school, because that will become a negotiation process with the state as well, how big, how many square feet our new high school will be. So we've started that process as well. So I think if you saw in the paper recently, I think it was in the Times Record, that SAD 75 had their straw poll vote for the land for their new school. And that really is, they own that land. So it was a fairly easy process for them, and we have to go through this process of going through the appraisals because somebody else owns the property. So that's where we're at right now. Any questions that you have?
Any questions from the board for Patrick? Patrick, what's the status? I know we approved the ed specs at the last meeting. Has the state given their approval of those specs, or?
Yes, we brought them up to them. You know, we signed off on them, they accepted them, so
okay.
We should be good. And then, like I said, in a couple of weeks, we'll get you that kind of pared down version.
And what's the cost of the 2 appraisals?
I think for both appraisals is $11,500. And again, that is a cost that the district has to pay up front, but it's something that the district gets reimbursed for once the project is been approved.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you. Next item is item 10.2, Finance Committee Report. I'll turn that over to Steve.
Thanks, Tim. The Finance Committee met at the beginning of the month and met with our auditor and reviewed the audit findings. Have members of the board seen the audit?
I think I don't know if we sent it electronically or told people they could come in.
Okay. So you've seen the audit, and once again, we have it's a very clean, once again, a very clean audit. And I think Deborah and Vita, who work on our books as part of the business office, are due a lot of credit for that. As I always say, I think we don't realize how blessed we are to have good, competent people in our business office. I do want to acknowledge the effort that they put in. And lo and behold, the auditor agrees. Like I said, it's a very clean audit. There is one recurring management issue which has persisted over a long time, just related to internal controls. We have such a small number of people, too, working on the books. It really does not meet the standard as it should be desired. But the auditor always gives us a pass on it, so we're in good shape. If you do have a chance to look through the audit report, you should know that in the document, the annual financial report, there is a wrap-up upon the West Bath withdrawal. They've been sent a check representing the amount of money that the district owed them as part of the balances, the surplus balances that we hold. So that document is included as part of the audit, and hopefully that addresses all the financial obligations that we had in completing the withdrawal of West Bath this year. The other thing we discussed at the budget meeting, or the finance committee meeting, was budget timeline, which Patrick reviewed with us. The meetings with the administrators are scheduled for March 7th and March 14th. You should note those on your calendar. And Bill recommended, and the committee agreed, to find a slot for discussion on nursing across the district. So there will be a specific discussion as related to our nursing coverage. And I think that's about it. But is the budget timeline on the district website?
Yes, it is. I think I sent it to all of you. I'll resend it, tomorrow as well. But I think we sent it to you a while back. There hasn't been any changes, and it is on the district website.
So it's on the district website, and hopefully the public takes an opportunity to look at that schedule so they can anticipate the dates when the board will be discussing the budget, and hopefully at some of those open public meetings, parents and other concerned citizens in the district will raise issues and bring them to the board's attention so we can incorporate them as part of our budget discussion. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Any questions for Steve? All right. Item 11.0, Superintendent's Report. We begin with item 11.1, good news. And Jen, you had some comments on the staff reports that we received?
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate the time it takes to create these reports from the principal, and their busy schedule. So I try to sit down and read them and get a bigger understanding of what's going on in the district. And I was struck by, the first thing was from the note from the Bath Middle School when they talked about their great success working with students at Dyke Newell. And it just, again, it made me realize how important a K-8 school is, because it offers those opportunities for middle school, second graders to work. So that was part of my reflection, but also that it takes so much more effort when you're not under one roof. That it's important and a lot easier to do in a school like we are today at Woolwich, but it takes a lot more effort, and I think it speaks to when we were talking a little bit about K-5 schools, offering multi-age students in one building. It always seems to speak to a wonderful opportunity for both the young kids and the older kids. So I just wanted to say thank you for making that happen, and I hope that helps us as we reflect on potential changes to come. And then the other thing was I really appreciated the feedback from the Dyke Newell principal about the new program we're having there, because it was a big effort that we undertook. And even though it's not a formal report, which I assume we'll get one pretty soon, it was really nice to hear about the logistics of how the person that is filling that position is working, not just with the students, but with the entire school, which was one of our big concerns. And I felt very confident that we made a good decision after reading the report. So thank you to both of you.
All right, thanks, Jen. Patrick?
Before I start with a couple things here, I would, like Steve was saying, I'd like to thank Deb and Vita who are here tonight, because we really have, we have two people, but Vita also has other responsibilities, so I don't know if we want to call it 1.5, but very competent people that do a great job for us and make our life very easy and full trust and confidence in them, so thank you both, I appreciate it. Professional development, just a couple things. We got one coming up a day this Friday, but just to give you some idea of things that we focused on, we will this Friday, but also in the last month since we've seen you, is Lucy Calkins' writing, everyday math, special education, be social, emotional, and how to help students that may be experiencing anxiety with their learning, and the new teacher evaluation model. Behavior support program at Dyke Newell, Jen alluded to that. I think I may have sent you an email, but we have 6 students that are accessing or in that program right now, and we have another probably close to 10 students that are also receiving some instruction from that teacher, mostly regarding social skills. And then we also have the teacher working with other teachers in the building, working with parents, and we're excited to have a social work to bring forward for your consideration tonight that will be with us 2 days a week to work with families and work with the students as well. You can see from the principal letters that we have a lot of academic celebrations as well as competitions going on this time of year. So if you have a chance, we've got GOBs, we've got spelling bees, writing showcases, all kinds of Lego robotics, math meets. So some great opportunities for our kids to take advantage of. And Jen hit on this, but I think we have more than we ever have of our schools working together. I think you saw probably 3 or 4 examples of more students coming down to elementary, middle school with Dyke Newell. Again, it is hard to coordinate that, but it's great role modeling and beneficial for the older kids and the younger kids. 7th and 8th grade concert band at BMS has been invited to play at the State House in Augusta on February 2nd. I think they'll be doing the national anthem and also playing in the rotunda up there. So it's good honor for our students and our teachers. And just lastly, I'll pass this out to you today, but just to let you know that we had a 4th grade student last year at Fisher Mitchell who wrote a letter to the president, and I think it was along the lines of asking for more books, more literature, and received a response back from the president. So I'll just share that with you tonight. But it was a nice way of her taking a risk and got a response back. No books, but to get a response back. So I think it was kind of a neat thing for the teachers and for the girl and for the school to have that happen. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Patrick? All right, item 11.2, financial report. Deborah?
Good evening, folks, and thanks for all the compliments, and echo to thanks Stephen for being such a big help to me. The report tonight is for the month of December, and we have spent 38.29% of our budget, which compared to last year, we spent 38%, so it's pretty much following the same pattern. We've had a little bit of an influx of tuition costs because of students moving into the district, but we're keeping a close eye on things, and I think everything's going to work out okay. As far as revenue, we've brought in about 50%, which we're 50% of the year, so that is in line with what has been done in the past. And it's time for putting the budgets together. So that work has begun. All the schools have their non-labor budgets in, ready for me to pull into the big picture as soon as I finish with the salaries. So that's it.
Any questions for Deborah? Jen?
Sorry, Beth was always present. I'm just learning how to read these better. So for the under expenditures, the other food services, the percentage remaining last month was 100%, and now it's 0%. It seemed that there was, so it said year-to-date expended last month was nothing, and this year it's 80,000.
And that's just that's a transfer that we transfer from the general fund into the food service, which is a special purpose fund. So it's just a matter of me doing that journal entry and transferring it over. That's why it's 100%.
Okay. And under revenues, student activities, last month it was -2%, now it's -29.2%.
That's because we have brought in 129%. We've brought in more than what we had budgeted. We had only budgeted 5,000. We've brought in 6,400. So it's like a burst.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions for Deborah? You're great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 11.3, fundraisers. Patrick?
Yeah, we try to bring these to you twice a year. We do the best we can to give you all the fundraisers in August or September, so that if you have any questions, but obviously things come up during the year. So we try to, in January, give you another update. This will be the last one of the year. I don't think there's any surprises on it, the different types of fundraisers. And we do try to keep it to a minimum because we know that people are, different causes out there that are asking for money as well. So I don't know if you have any questions. It's really an informational item for you.
Any questions from the board?
Is this inclusive of everything or just what's changed from last time?
No, these are additions from last time. So this should be it from now until the end of the school year. Because we've asked people to get these to us so that we know what's coming.
All right, on to old business, item 12.0. First item of old business is board goals. Any comments? Questions, concerns about board goals? I would just emphasize that, again, as communication continues to be a goal of the district, I think it's really important that, and we'll talk about it later on, but focusing on communicating the state of the district meeting. I think it's an important meeting. There's a lot of information there, and I think we should really try to get some good participation for that meeting. So. Item 12.2. As I mentioned, Vita brought this to my attention. I think it was back in May or June. We met to discuss the superintendent's contract. We talked about that in executive session because it's a personnel matter. I think the board was in favor of the changes that we made, but we never voted on that in public session. So we need to send the paperwork, the minutes that show that we approved that contract onto the state. So at this time, I need a motion from the board regarding the superintendent's contract for, I guess it would be 2016, 2017.
Move to approve the superintendent's contract.
Okay, so there's a motion to approve the superintendent's contract for 2016, 2017. It's from Steve. Is there a second?
Second.
Do you want Isabel and I vote on this? Because we know.
No, you probably don't need to. Yeah, because it's a personnel matter.
All right.
So there was a second by Bill. Okay. Any discussion on this? It's a one-year contract. Well, right. Okay. The contract is a 3-year contract, but by state law, we cannot extend the contract beyond 3 years. So what we talked about doing was, and we've done this since Patrick has been superintendent of the district, we extend that contract an additional year so that it's a full 3-year contract. So
this is the third.
we actually were voting on, I'm submitting this for 2016, 2017, the board is, but the contract itself is a 3-year contract. So we've added a year, so it's always at 3 years. Okay? Any other questions on the contract? All right, all those in favor of approval, raise your hand. Unopposed? That passes. Okay, thank you. Okay, on to new business. Item 13.1, we have personnel item, we have a nomination. Patrick?
I'd like to nominate Lydia Crafts for school social worker, and she would be at Dyke Newell to help support the behavior program, and she would be 40% You can see we had 2 administrators, 1 special ed teacher on the interviewing committee. And you can see her education and experience coming from Providence and as a social worker. So we're pleased to find her, especially a person of her quality at this time and during the school year.
Any questions for Patrick on this nomination? Okay, this is an action item. Is there a motion to approve the nomination? Is there a second? Second by Steve. Any further discussion? The only thing I would note is in the line item, the name is Lydia Crafts. In here, it is Lydia Caff, so I'm assuming it's Crafts? Crafts. Okay, all those in favor? Raise your hand. Any opposed? Unopposed? That motion passes. Okay, item 13.2. We have Schedule B appointments. This is not an action item. Patrick?
Yeah, similar to fundraisers, we try to bring the students twice a year, and these are stipends that we didn't know who was going to fill them at the beginning of the year. So just giving you an update. So some are from the winter season, and some are for the spring season. So it's just an informational item to show you that we've, who we filled these positions with.
Any questions for Patrick? Do you know, or can you get us the information, are there any Schedule B positions that the board has approved that have not been filled for either winter or spring? That would be helpful to have that. Okay, thank you. Okay, item 13.3, we have an overnight field trip request. This is from BRCTC to attend the Skills USA state competition in Bangor. This is one that has happened numerous times. This is an action item. Is there a motion regarding this?
Move approval, Mr. Chairman.
Move to approve by Bill, second by Lou.
Wish to group all the luck in the world. Bring home a title.
Yeah. Any other discussion on this? All right, all those in favor of the motion to approve, raise your hand. Any opposed? None opposed? That passes. All right, item 13.4. We do this every January. This is to review the board committee assignments. You would have received this list in your packet. Just take a moment to look over the current committees that we have, and it's just an open discussion about if there's committees that you would like to serve on that you're not on, please let us know, or if there's a committee that you are currently serving on that you would prefer not to serve on, now is the time.
Well, I'd have to take my name off of that. Trustee.
Okay, so Steve is no longer on the patent-free library because he is currently a trustee. Is there someone who would like to serve on the patent-free library committee?
I have been.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
So we'll put Megan in Steve.
Mr. Chairman, I had volunteered to serve on the dropout prevention last year.
Okay, so we'll put Bill in for dropout prevention. And with that, unless there are any other changes, we've filled our roster. There are no negotiations this year, so that committee will remain dormant. Any other comments on this? Everybody else good? Speak now. All right, you all have your committee assignments. Thank you. Item 13.5, we have a few first readings tonight. And I saw there were a couple, were there a couple first readings on the table? Yeah. Okay, so we'll begin with the first readings that we had tabled from last month's meeting. First policy, this is under item 13.A, is policy JIC, Student Code of Conduct. Any, Lou? Here,
Yeah.
let me send this to you. Oh, that's not garbage.
Yeah, I just had a question. I know some of this, because Jennifer and I were talking about it beforehand, some of this, I guess, comes right from the state or right from certain, like, for example, the standards for ethical and responsible behavior. I thought it was interesting. Integrity is crossed out, perseverance is crossed out. I assume it's because that's a difficult thing to actually monitor. I'm not sure why those things are. Jen can probably answer that. But my question really was on section E, discrimination and harassment. Wondering where, since what was crossed off, there was gender and gender expression is crossed off, and obviously we're at a time where all of that is a bigger issue, not a lesser issue. So I don't know if that's going to be found somewhere else or how that's going to work. So I was just curious where the language is and how that's addressed.
Jen or Megan, do you want to take a shot at that? Policy, why those were changed?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we were talking about addressing those issues either in a separate policy or a separate heading, and I think it had to do with some of the report that we got during our meeting with retreat. You know, I believe the sports director at Morris was talking about some issues that maybe we need to get some specific wording around for transgender issues and some other things like that. So I didn't know if we were going to, I think we're going to address that specifically in a policy or maybe create a whole different section of policy for that.
So it'd either be a different section of this policy or a whole separate.
Yeah.
We're not sure yet, so
Yes.
that's don't have to decide that today. Thank you.
And I just want to follow up on Lou's first question. Why was integrity and perseverance scratched as standards? Do you know what the rationale was for that?
The integrity piece, I think, was because it kind of means the same thing as honesty. That's the one thing I remember. I'm not sure about the perseverance.
I think we were talking about what is in statute right now. And I think that the list with those two items crossed out mirrored what we have in statute.
Okay. And these are standards for ethical and responsible behavior. So I guess to some degree I could understand why perseverance might be scratched out, because it's a great quality to have, but it doesn't necessarily apply to ethical and responsible behavior. And I would ask you to consider, when you look at this, you may want to consider leaving out courage. Again, a great quality to have, but not necessarily tied directly to ethical and responsible behavior, whether someone's courageous or not courageous. Were there other questions about this? No? Bill, could you pass the mic down? Thanks.
In section E, the discrimination and harassment / sexual harassment, why was socioeconomic class lost out? It's kind of third line.
We receive these policies from an organization that helps schools write policies, so as they're updating their policies based on federal law, state law, and then also situations that arise throughout the year. So what they'll do is we'll take a look at how their policies have changed and their recommendations to us. When we first discussed this at a meeting, I don't believe we addressed that, why that is, so we'll definitely do some more research on that and find out. It may go back, discrimination, I don't know, we'll have to look how it ties into that heading and if we address it in another policy. Thank you.
Any Any other questions on this policy?
On
Steve?
removal of disruptive and violent students. I guess it's part of J. I'm not sure how this is. Anyways, in paragraph 2 or section 2, it talks about removing the student. If the staff member will contact an administrator or if not available, another suitable person. I'm just trying to figure out, are we talking about the SRO, for example?
I think it gives you some freedom, but that would be my first, for us, it would be school resource officer.
Any other questions on this? No?
In section F, under drug and alcohol use, the bath salts was added. Just all the other descriptions of what is not allowed is pretty vague or encompassing, and bath salts was inserted. I feel that heroin or other drugs has more of an epidemic than bath salts, so I was just, is there a reason?
That's because when they rewrote this policy, it was probably, that was the issue, yeah. So your point is, we're gonna name specific things, perhaps heroin should be named, or we should not name something specific, but okay. Yeah.
All right, anyone else from the board? The only other thing I'd just like to add, under expectations, it says, in case of an inconsistency between the code of conduct, board policies, and or school handbooks, the board's policies will prevail. And I just want to make sure that prior to approving this policy at our next meeting, that all administrators are aware of this policy and understand that this policy, and are comfortable with the fact that this policy supersedes any policies that they would have in their handbook. So, because I know each school, has certain codes of conduct, slightly different. Right. So it would be important to get input from all the administration on that. Okay, we'll move on to 13.5B. This is policy JLF, reporting child abuse and neglect. Any questions or comments from the board? Again, this is just a first reading. Anything from the board?
I believe this is why we've got this form JLF-E with us, because this policy references this form, and that's why I had asked, so we could see that. 2B.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Just to kind of get a sense of what form, what information the form calls for.
On page 2. Steve, could you pull that up? I should also ask.
No, go ahead.
I should raise my hand. Under administrator reporting and confirmation duties, B, in the added language, it talks about the superintendent making a verbal and written report of suspected abuse or neglect to HHS. I'm just curious on the protocol. So you're responsible. You would have to both call and write.
Yeah, it's usually the building administrator.
It's not, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you do both, or you would do both.
Yeah. So if I place a call, I also fill out the report and send it to the board. Copy there, I keep a copy.
But it's not an or. You're not making either a verbal or a written report. You're doing both. And And the verbal report is immediate. I mean, you're doing that on,
Yes.
in terms of timing.
Yep. So as soon as I have all the information I can get, that's done, then I'll go through whatever the question, whatever the situation question is.
Anyone else? Just had one potential change in the heading under section 5. It says interviews of child and school personnel. But under that paragraph, under that heading, it really deals almost exclusively, or does deal exclusively, with the interviews of the child. There's no mention of interviewing school personnel in that paragraph. So I would suggest possibly striking and school personnel. Any other questions on this policy? Okay. Item 13.5C, policy IMDA, patriotic exercises. Questions, comments from the board on this one?
Basic housekeeping, it still says Bath Public Schools on the bottom, it should say RSU.
All right. Item 13.5D, policy IMDB, flag displays. Questions or comments on this? I just had one. I wasn't sure what this meant. In the final paragraph, it says, it shall be the duty of instructors to impress upon the youth by suitable references and observances the significance of the flag, to teach them the cost. And I don't know what they're talking about there. Teach them the cost of what?
The cost made, cost of the sacrifices made by the founders of the nation. Refers to the end of the sentence. Cost, the objects, and principles of our government. I don't know. I believe this as well is taken directly out of the statute. I think we went back and looked at this, didn't we? And I think this is the wording is interesting, and it is almost directly out of this state statute that reference. But we'll go back.
You may want to look, review it and possibly just take out them the cost and move on to teach the object and principles of our government, the inestimable sacrifice by the founders. I just didn't know if maybe there was something that they were getting at that just hadn't been spelled out. All right, and then there was one other policy. This is policy IKD, honor roll.
Just getting back to the flag displays, is there anything in our rules about flag etiquette, or if teachers have, I mean, if we're going to be displaying flags, if there are rules to display flags, is there anything in our policy that says like you should be following flag etiquette, teachers should, anything of that sort, like flag should be lowered every night, is it?
I don't know if we have any policy on
Or
that.
would that be, because I feel like this would be a section where it could be included.
I don't know.
It's not in that much detail, we don't have a policy in that much detail. I mean, I think on that one, IMDB, the closest thing you're going to see to that is the American flag is displayed in every classroom. But as far as lowering it or raising it.
Yeah, it's really that first sentence in accordance with Maine state law and the United States. That's the overarching, which implies, I think, everything that you're asking.
Okay, so back to policy IKD, honor roll. questions, comments on this one? All right.
Just a question.
Sure.
We're converting to proficiencies in the process thereof. Does that fit in here? Are we still going to have letter grades when we're pronouncing proficiencies for our students?
I can tell you this. I know that as the board has discussed moving towards a proficiency-based diploma, one of the things that we have strongly voiced is that in moving towards a proficiency-based diploma, we are not talking about a proficiency-based grading system. That our intent was to retain the existing grading system. Unless the board made a decision otherwise, that's how the district will move forward. So as we presented it to the public, the district is not moving towards proficiency-based grades, we're just moving towards a proficiency-based diploma.
But it did come up in policy, and some schools are doing a hybrid model where you're using the 1, 2, 3, 4, but calculating that into a A, B, C, D, E. So I mean, this is something that hadn't been revised since 1994, and obviously we've had schedule changes at Morse, and we've had our middle school wasn't accurate. So this is one that we wanted to update now, and maybe something that we bring back to at some point.
That's fine. We'll get back to it at some point,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
we will.
Yes.
All right, item 13.6, I just wanted to have a brief discussion about state of the district meeting in February. Patrick, have you given any consideration at all to format or what we're going to expect this year?
Yeah, it's somewhat of a similar format to last year. We'll have some performances, people coming in, we'll have some presentations, we'll have a PowerPoint, a little different than last year, and we'll have some input from parents, students, and staff members. And we're going to start advertising it soon. One question that I had for you is the 22nd, I think, is the Monday we get back from vacation, or families get back from vacation. And last year we moved it to that Thursday of that week, just feeling like, and we moved the whole board meeting to that Thursday. So just a question for you, because we're getting ready, the students in our vocational center are making up a flyer, and so I wanted to bring that to you tonight. But we're meeting, the administrators were able to get their bullets in, their pictures in, people they'd like to invite to the event, to be part of the event. That's all due this Friday, and we have an administrative team meeting tomorrow where we're talking about getting it organized.
Are you recommending that we meet on Thursday the 25th?
Or some day that week. And if we have to go through email with Vita coordinating it tomorrow, we can, but the sooner the better. I just think that Monday right after, we probably get less people remembering about it.
Yep, good point.
That's 15.1.
Yep.
We've got 5 minutes.
The one suggestion I would have for this meeting, I think the PowerPoint was beneficial last year, but I think it would be helpful if there was some narration that went along with it. If you were to pause and add to it, or if there were other folks that wanted to contribute a narrative to that, that would be helpful. Anyone else on meeting February, state of the district? Okay. Item 14.0, public comment. Is there anyone from the public who wanted to speak?
Can you hear me? Hi, I'm Beth Schultz. I have a 9th grader at Morse. I'm here in Woolwich. And I just wanted to make the recommendation or request to the board that, I know you guys have a lot of committees, but that you would consider 3 different board-appointed committees. The first one would be a technology committee. It's my understanding that within the next few years our contract with Apple is going to be coming up. I think it would be really beneficial to start a committee now so that parents could have input into whether we remain an iPad school or perhaps consider going to a laptop school. It'd be an opportunity to build support from the community if it requires a larger investment in the budget if you decide to go in a different direction. There have been some big challenges. I won't go into them, but if you want to ask me any questions, I'm happy to share as far as some of the I've had issues at the high school. Another committee I would recommend is that the proficiency-based diploma committee, or proficiency-based education, be a board-appointed committee. I think that that was a goal of the board to communicate that. As a parent, I found it very hard to kind of follow what's going on or find anything to read about what's going on. It's my understanding there's 2 pilots going on at the high school. It would have been really nice to kind of not to have to seek out that information, but to really understand there's this new retake policy going on, and you know, just I think that, you know, if you don't communicate it out, what's going on, it denies parents from having a conversation with their children about what this means, how to approach it. And the other committee that I think would help would be a communications committee. You mentioned that communication is one of your goals. I think that we can really work towards pushing communication out and looking at schools that have a higher parental engagement. I've been at the school the whole year, and I'm not sure, you know, I think our frequency in comparison to other districts, you know, is more quarterly kind of communication. A lot of other districts are monthly as far as from administrators. I haven't received in my email inbox one communication from an administrator. I think that the policy is to go out and seek it and look on the website, it's posted there, but I think that we have to work really hard for parental engagement and push things out and look at opt-in emails, or, you know, I just think it would help a lot because, for instance, I didn't see the newsletter that was from October until December. So, okay, any questions?
Questions for Beth? No, I think those are some good points. Thanks very much. Thanks for coming out. Anyone else from the public? All right. Item 15.0, set next meeting date and location. We currently are scheduled for Monday, February 22nd, but obviously at Patrick's request, it makes sense to move that date. I don't know if we want to pick a date now, or if you want to get back to us.
Anybody want to suggest it?
Okay, so everybody good with Thursday, February 25th? Okay, so our next meeting will be Thursday, February 25th, and that's at Bath Middle School.
Teacher parent conferences. I think that went for the high school.
We can email if that's a conflict, and then we'll go with the Wednesday, maybe the 24th, we can email tomorrow.
Okay, so we'll tentatively say for the 25th, but let's make sure that isn't a conflict with parent-teacher conferences. I think Beth's comments, especially with some of those committees, I think it would be a really good idea for us to talk about, even if they're not monthly committees, but I think it keeps some of the stuff that we're talking about in the forefront and is an opportunity for the board to, at least some board members, to have further discussion and get a little bit more in depth on some of these issues. So I think that's a great idea. Okay, item 16.0, adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn? Moved by Bill. Is there a second? Second by Lou. All those in favor? Okay, thank you folks. This meeting is adjourned. We'll see you in February. We'll update the date, whether it's the 24th or the 25th.